You're not a leader. You're not a nation leader. You are an individualistic little monstrous baboon with some kind of power. Enough to make some people feel uncomfortable, but not enough to cause whole-scale destruction of a country unfettered. You can't do that. Because after all, people need to have somewhere to lay their bodies down, don't they? Somebody gotta be out there sitting on a chair, and you ought to be kicking everybody's chairs. You're breaking everybody's chair. Like you're Goldilocks and everybody is the little bear. You're a bully. You're destroying a nation that is already on its way out, coughing blood, breathing its last, wheezing with emphysema. You're finishing it all. You are medically assisted suicide for South Africa. You are euthanasia for South Africa. It's already suicidal. It's already on its way out. And because it worships you, you are the reason why it will finally die. But unless you succeed to frontal lobotomize the entire country, you're not going to succeed, because ultimately people will wake up and smell the coffee, like I said earlier, with crazy people that were insensitive yesterday, child soldiers, that when they turn 27, they then start to feel some kind of way about all the people they kill. Unless you successfully frontal lobotomize a Midianite, because you like the Midianites, hey? You witches, witchy Midianites, middies, like pity pity, like the duck, da, middy pity pity. You just ducks, you are no teeth. No kwa. Midian, you're ducky Midianites, and instead of being ducky Midianites, you cannot, within all their idolatry in Israel, cause a people living in a cave to sit in that cave unfettered by their cave habitation without them turning their hearts over back to God, because they realized their idol worship did nothing for them. You know how Gideon was made to go and decimate the Baal statue outside of his dad's house, and they tried to kill him? And the dad was like, let Baal fight for himself, and Gideon was given another name that basically speaks about Baal, something about Baal is after you, Baal is gonna kill you. Gideon's dad stood up for Gideon and said, don't kill him, let Baal stand up for himself if he's truly God. And so of course Gideon got to live, but he in the night, because he was scared, actually chopped and sliced and diced like it's an ice sculpture next to a chainsaw, his dad's Baal statue. And everybody was like, oh, they killed our God, who kills our God, let's kill him. And the dad was like, whoa, emang hanyane, you murderous psychopaths, let Baal kill him. After all, does the Lord God Almighty not strike people dead when they mess with the Ark of the Covenant? Let God display himself as God, and so swallow the Korathite, and so swallow Korah and all of his rebellion with the earth alive. Let your God display his displeasure with people by killing people alive. And of course Baal did no such thing, right? Because God is God and Baal is not. Okay? Yeah. So Gideon got to live past that, and then the people were given emboldenment and bravery and what have you. Listen, cut a long story short, to ultimately even, volunteer for the military. Yeah, but then a whole bunch of them got shaved off when God said, let the ones who are scared, who want to save their lives, leave. And most of them left. And then the ones that are just be lapping their water when they're drinking, those are the only soldiers that were chosen. And so 300 soldiers out of how many Israelis initially? I believe it was like 18,000 or something. A very small number in comparison to their enemies, but it was still big enough to essentially kind of make some kind of a dent in their egos to say that we fought and won. Yeah, but did they first not destroy and embrace the destruction of the idol of Baal before they went against the Midianites? So unless, you can prosper to frontal lobotomize the whole of South Africa, give them a bad case of amnesia, dementia, whatever it is that you can be out there doing in these uneasy streets, unless you can succeed to cause such mental absence, like a cognitive absence altogether of South Africans, you're not going to succeed, oh crazy idol, to make people embrace and take in their stride, chilling in a cave for a lifestyle, being harassed, abused, lambasted by Midianites, when somebody is saying it's because of that ice sculpture outside of your house, otherwise known as the statue of Baal. I say ice because that's what came to my mind, but it was wood. We know that Gideon destroyed that sculpture, and he gave reasons as to why. And if at all you explain to people, okay, so like your land is all dry and she's got like the mpandlani of your Butmadlisa, okay, fruitless because of Butmadlisa and all of your witchcraft. Listen, Laloya, that's why you're dying. Duh. If at all you can convince people that that's what's good. Listen, divine intervention, trying everything else, it failing, and then turning over to God has always been a human strategy. It's always been a human thing. They always go to God last, and that's why Gen Alpha are going to be the only ones able to successfully recalibrate the scales of this country. When your false gods are evidenced as false because you still endure calamity in spite of them being all up in your cities, in your streets, in their high places, and your queens of heavens. Yeah. Ay man, you will cut those ropes around your ugly hands. Yeah, because they ugly. Listen, they ugly. Yeah. You will cut those ropes on your ugly hands. You will stop cutting people, cut 11 and making beautiful Zulu girls all scarred. You will also stop bathing people, go marung. Go morong, maru, that's a cloud. Momorong. Like just some gravy, some soup of herbs, and that's like, you know, because there's like evil spirits all up on them. You will stop putting people like they are chicken and like the steak or mutton in some gravy water creating a stew. You will stop putting people momorong. What herbs? Because it's gravy. It's got herbs and spices like KFC. You will stop dunking people like slab chips and dip. You'll stop dunking your sons and daughters man. Because then they're gonna get devoured by demons who are gonna be like, oh, this is delicious, and finger licking. After all, did you not sprinkle herbs and spices on your child? You will stop dunking yourselves in demon juice, moro, making yourself a sheep to the slaughter, putting yourself on a plate to be devoured by Satan. You will stop doing these cleansing rituals that are full of herbs and spices and sprinkling aromat on people. Like, stop. Aromat belongs on your chips and Noroxy belongs on your chicken. Stop dunking people in water. Where a cube, yeah, Noroxy. A stock cube has melted. Like, stop. My ex-boyfriend and I once dunked ourselves in Moro because we fornicated after his brother died, and we were told not to do it, so we were scared. And I was my ex-boyfriend gave me some solution, let's curry herbs and spices, say 11, it's like a KFC. And I put it in a bucket of water and I dunked myself in it. I dunked myself in it because that was apparently what I needed to do in order to ward myself off from the spirit of death, because I was not supposed to fornicate. And then I had to throw the water like in a bush. Yeah, Marmuruatenge had all the juices on my skin, all my body oils. Yeah, Papa, I was dunked for a demon to eat me. I was dunked for a fallen angel to eat me. I was made ripe and ready, spiced and everything, cooked, do you understand? Having slathered myself, got those herbs. Hey, karomet, kanorox. Barbecue sauce, barbecue, oregano, turmeric. Turmeric is even worse because it makes you yellow. So now you'll be looking like proper curry. Alright guys, the stuff you do though. Anyway, whatever. So I did that once. I was once meat for the eating by demons, but then the Lord rescued me. I was saved. Like, I'm no longer all looking yellow like chicken curry or whatever. My essence is really busy. You will stop. You will take a bath 3 times to remove that turmeric on your body because it stained your skin, and you will basically start putting herbs and spices in your food and not so much on your bodies. Like, curry herbs. You will stop. Because really, nothing else worked. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. No. When then you've got an Islam takeover in the country, when your stores are closed, when everything is halal, when you're dealing with bankruptcy, when you're dealing with state locking, failed state, when you're dealing with so much violence on the streets that can't nobody breathe, when everybody's losing their houses, when everybody's getting stuff repossessed, when there's way more crime than you can ever accommodate, you will stop putting yourselves in some water that's got a stock cube in it, so you can ultimately marinate for a freaking chicken. Okay? For like a fallen angel, you will stop. So random Budma that says that I'm never gonna ever get to work again. Yeah, okay, sure, Ndoda. First of all, I'm moving to the US, so I'm gonna be removed from the principality over this country, and I'm not gonna be here to watch people get out of a tripod. A cauldron, essentially, having put themselves in there with herbs and spices and stirred themselves. They'll get out. Why wouldn't they? There's no food on your grocery shelves. Why wouldn't they? You're in a failed state. Why wouldn't they? Your economy is collapsing. Why wouldn't they? Your family members are dying away one to the other and it hurts. Why wouldn't they? There is a severity of guilt, just like with child soldiers who killed a whole bunch of people, and now the blood guilt is coming back to your memory at the forefront. Why wouldn't people ultimately abandon their idols like Manasseh when you get dragged out with hooks in your face and put in a Babylonian jail? Why wouldn't you repent? But it's gonna be too little. But it's gonna be too little, too late for Generation Z, for late Gen Z, millennials, Gen X's, and baby boomers, etc., whoever's still alive in all the generations. It's going to be too little too late. The only ones that are going to have some kind of a semblance of a normal livable country are the Gen Alphas and late Gen Zs. And even then, the late Gen Zs probably are going to be the ones that are going to be maybe like middle-aged when they start to have normal lives. It's pretty much like me. I'm in my middle age and only now I'm going to start to have a normal life, but yes, like it, man. So much disaster in the run-up too, so I missed out on a chunk of my youth. All my 30s are gone. Those are the Gen Zs that are young today, very, very young. But the Gen Alphas are the ones that are going to get to at least enjoy their teenage years and their 20s, maybe even younger than that, or King John Gen Beta or whatever. In the country, pretty much the enjoyment of what it is that were our lives when we were growing up. Even though we grew up in the latter part of apartheid South Africa, it was nonetheless fun to be a child, because it wasn't too bad in the Gusties where we stayed. All those memories are gone now. You're just evil, you're nefarious, because look at the men with whom I grew up. This guy's my mom's age, he's like 60 something. I'll never work again. What? Would he not have been among those people that were alive at the very heat and height of apartheid, that were fighting against systematic oppression in this country, that hated the way that black people were so disenfranchised, hated the way that black people were so economically just sabotaged, for crying out loud? Would he not have hated that? Would he not have hated his own poverty? Would he not have hated his lowliness and his segregation? Indeed. And yet look at him create a brand spanking new version of apartheid. Oh, hypocrite. Morning. He is my mom's age. He is exactly amidst those that came out of apartheid, just like many of the leaders of the ANC endured apartheid at the heat of its height. And yet, the youth of this country, they're not happy to now that they fought for freedom. So, lazy, seeing as they are enduring South Africa through a most heinous and a most catastrophic idol worship, and so much castigation, so much harassment, so much abuse, so much attack on the part of people who don't want to capitulate. Remember, I said that they just love pleasure. They're just pleasure hungry, so they ought to have become celebrities, but I guess they're not beautiful enough, neither have enough talent to be celebrities. So I guess all they could become are politicians. Yeah, they love pleasure. And this man is an old man that runs an entire organization. He ought love the youth. He ought love young people that he is empowering, especially within the black community, seeing as apparently they are so worried and so concerned about BEE to a point of making me hang on a noose for being so coconutty, for being like an Oreo with shoes that look like an Oreo getting a wafer. My goodness, yeah, while they are supposed to love the youth and they're supposed to actually not be as hypocritical as they are rather exploiting the youth. They're keeping them poor. And they are also so hedonistic and so pleasure-seeking. They're so hedonistic and so pleasure-seeking that when beautiful women come into the space, abale young especially, they're like, yamfuna. Yeah, what do you mean yamfuna, Ndoda? Like, first of all, you're really old, and secondly, she's here to work. Lomuntu is here to get a future, a piece of the South African dream, if you will. She's here to grab a piece of the pie that is a South African prosperity prospect. You get my point? This person is here to try and realize dreams. She's here to fulfill ambitions, and you just want to nibble into that. And if it also doesn't want you, become a lawyer. And if all things get so bad that the chick clearly will never barge, because maybe Mzalwane, or if not Mzalwane, just with a very strong spirit, because look God akazingeni indaba zokuthi uyomnibela or whatnot, bese uyamnever kosha, but you block her doors, you close her in on all sides, you make sure ukuthi akazovuza nithi nakancane into any new ecosystem. House buys get them so that's somebody's daughter. That's a black young person that represents black young people in this country, and we are the majority, for crying out loud. The blacks, that is. And so therefore, when you're out messing with the lives of youth in this country, when you're out messing with the lives of beautiful young women in this country, you're taking away wives, do you understand, from young men. And you are also taking away mothers that are going to be responsible in rearing children, basically with happiness, because we know how it is that when you give babies to crazy dudes, you be out here dealing with a bad case of postpartum depression, and so you can't even raise your kids up right. So what you're doing when you mess with a young woman walking into your corporate, working for the first time, a woman lawyer, is destroying all that future. Listen, you are an individualist and you're crazy, and you are taking away from South Africa and from black people that which is the last remaining ounce or small little drop of morality that they have left, because frankly, quite the chunk of it is just gone. It's evaporated. It has evaporated like precipitation after it rains. It's just evaporated. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, Labantu, they are doing that. Basing in South Africa, they have made young men so freaking misogynistic, it's not even funny. Even though they don't even know why they don't even know why they don't like young black women. They don't even know why they're so mean, why they've got it in for them. Why they're so spiteful? How I'd say all they know is that they're taking this nonsense from just a polygamistic culture that feels like women should be put in their place. And when then they don't want to basically stay in their place, you then go to war with an entire gender. You become misogynistic, and upon being misogynistic, you then cause misandry in women because they tend to love you to death. Bazokuthanda uze ubaklape, ubaharase, ubaboshwe, ubabulale until bakuzonda. So misogyny then begets misandry. Misogyny then breeds misandry, and if at all we've got a whole bunch of misandric young black women and a whole bunch of misogynistic young black men, listen, our countries are done for because our civilizations and societies not built. Our civilizations and societies not built on the steam of men and women. We are Adam and Eve, respectively. Male and female, he created them. And so if males and females hate each other, listen, there is no civilization. There is no civilization. Only a bunch of people belonging to the colorful community, LGBTQIA+++, etc., all the way to like Omega, like I said, with that like Greek alphabet, all the way to Omega. We be dealing with all different kinds of perversions of sexuality because that's the only thing that sits, that handles, right? Men hating women so much that they kiss each other, and women hating men so much that they kiss each other. And then they engage in orgies thinking that this sexual revolution has no problem with it. They engage in really loose sexual practices because then if at all you can't get loved, and so pamper your soul, pamper your spirit, you will get pleasure. If at all you cannot find love, you will try to replace it with pleasure. And so we get a whole bunch of promiscuous people, young people, spreading diseases, and then they get so bitter that they can't even raise children. They get so bitter that they can't even love abantwana. That's what under heaven you're facing here. That's the first ominous monstrosity, lacking all different kinds of gentleness, but nonetheless we be out calling him gentleman and oh bossy boss. And very bossy, but I like a boss. He's trying to make sure that I go nowhere. That's out here burning me like a piece of paper underneath a magnifying glass. What am I going to do with all that heat? I'm going to Jesus. Listen, he is the son of righteousness that arrives with healing on his wings. And when this guy's like that trying to burn Christ too, he's going to be burnt to a crisp, be brought low to a fine powder. It's a spell. I can't ever again in my life. Okay. And over and above it, I'm never gonna buy. This person is not only oozing this level of defeatism in the black community, but he's oozing Antichrist spirit. What does the Antichrist ultimately achieve in the end against the body of Christians encircling the world? You won't be able to buy or sell, and so therefore you won't be able to live without the mark. And does the Antichrist not turn mother against father? Hey, family members are to be betraying one another. The Lord has come upon the earth not to bring peace but a sword, so people are going to be divided. But the Antichrist also adores division for all the wrong reasons. God divides because, listen, if God be God, serve God. If Baal be God, serve Baal. God divides because choose today whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So if you choose to serve idols, listen, do you. But as for me and my household, that's Joshua, serve the Lord. God is God and divides for the very same reasons that family members, some two will be against three, and the two who are in Christ will love each other, while the three that are against will not love those who are with Jesus. But the devil divides. If anything, I heard a word as I was walking around the other day. Just the word was division, and it was not coming from God. Not the Lord, but Satan. When he divides not so much to cause separation. God says, be ye separate, right? And don't partake in the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. That's the division. He does not incite us to violence. He says, separate yourselves from those who are not of our ideology. Whereas the devil says, separate yourself so you can kill, massacre, absolutely obliterate, annihilate those that are not of our ideology, starve them, parch them, make sure they can't do anything for themselves, ascertain that they can't move left or right. That is the devil. And in the end, with the mark of the beast, Satan prospers to cause family members to be content entirely. That's why it's written in God's word in 2 Timothy 3 that they lack natural affection, people of the last days within these perilousnesses. Yeah, individuals that would be able to thoroughly gaze upon their own mom starving to death and do nothing, something that yet is to be an issue in the black community. Even though you are causing all different kinds of other kinds of divisions, other kinds of destructions in people's lives, you nonetheless would never watch your own sister starve, right? Largely. Well, the devil gets to the nth degree of saying, watch your mother burn to death, hand your mother over to be killed, and starve your mother until she finally conceives. In Islam, where people leave Islam for Christianity or any other religion, they can starve their own person to death. Whereas within black society, barely ever will you get that, but you will be treated as a second-grade citizen. You will not be enabled along. Your cause will be thwarted. People will feel sorry enough for you to feed you. I will gotta be that extreme. So the one ounce of virtue that you got, listen, cultivate it. Water it like it's a plant. Otherwise, everything of you, whatever stump is left of your tree, will not regrow. Just like with Nebuchadnezzar, there was a stump left and so God grew him back. If at all you still have a stump, nurture it. You have been cut down as a tall tree. The birds have eaten out of you and now maggots encircle your roots. But cultivate and nurture the stump. Otherwise, there's no getting anything back. And the stump, the branches that are going to shoot forth from it, are the Gen Alphas, like I said, and late Gen Zs. All of y'all else are going to insist on maintaining your thing, but the Lord will always have a remnant. Even when I speak right now, some of y'all be out here gnashing your teeth. There are men high and low. They keep on cogitating. They go back to the drawing board. Buy a planner, buy a plotter, buy a schema, buy a zamubona. If at all they can't get a word in, relax. I'm never going to be any of yours. Mara o planner le ho plotter le schema is the reason why only your children are going to inherit the promise, and your children's children. Nina, however, Hashem, you won't even recognize South Africa once the Lord extracts us. You will not be able to recognize South Africa once the Lord takes us out of here. Listen, you're not going to spot it from what it is. Street and be like, yo, once upon a time, restaurant, you are going to go to cemeteries and they're going to be getting raided. People stealing caskets to bury their own dead. You're going to go to the shop, but then you let the power and the Kit Kat, the rice. What's the next shelf? The shelf of which are going to have bars on them, barricaded behind security guards because of how much theft will be going on over there due to hunger. Mamela, it's coming. Just like in Israel, these occult practitioners are about to take your country from underneath your feet. So whatever holidays you're going to Cape Town, overseas, enjoy them today while they last in your individualistic silo and without calling out to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Carry on. Mara one day little lona li kenteng importantly pochonkile. Little uta di joko shopong. Lo uta di tinkis. Lo uta marot. Go be go barricade. And you have to go and ask a person to give you bread. Buy not because there's going to be so much theft. Listen, those days are coming. Those days are coming. Understand, South Africa, this is what is coming to you. You are not going to be able to recognize your own cities. Next door neighbor house. Is going to be living in a shroud of darkness. I'm not trying to be dystopian. It's a judgment against you. And when I saw this nasty against South Africa, I thought it was because the tribulation was coming and that they were enduring the tribulation, until I got over my belief that the world is ending, and so realized that it's a judgment that's going to happen in our lifetime. And no, without the tribulation, it's just a judgment on a country in jail, because the tribulation cannot happen yet. So much has still to happen. I have come to that conclusion. I spoke about that in one of my other videos. Yeah, that's what's coming to your nations. And once then you're like that, since this baboon or mixed ninyon is not going to be able to frontal lobotomize you, ultimately nizovuga from Islam by every day and realize we can't carry on like this. Mara by then, like I said, can't recognize your own street, to a point where the one person that God raises up to deal with your issues, or your two or the three, you want to try and kill them until somebody has to stand in the gap and say, listen, disrespecting self, do not go and kill Jeremiah, my son, let Baal kill him. And then, not Jeremiah, but Gideon. And then you will come to learn that the Lord raised up Gideon for such a time as that. Nani, you will try to thresh wheat in a wine press so you don't get seen by the Midianites. When you're living like that, hand to mouth, you will finally respect God when you're living that kind of hand to mouth crazy lifestyle. It's just like all of you. Alrighty, that's this guy. So he's creating a mark of the beast-esque type system, and I'm like, okay, whatever, Mpandli, that's your middle name now. Mpandli. That is like Hugh Hefner. That's his witchcraft. And then let's talk about Ngwanahaya. Yo, obsessed, and conviction, sadly. Because he doesn't really have conviction of sin, just entitlement. The son, however, has conviction of sin, but it's sad because he can't get saved. He's a hybrid. He's a mixed breed, a transhuman. He wishes that he had hearkened to the gospel, done a better thing. I don't know at which point he was transhumanized. If at all this boy is the spawn of the devil, or if at all only once he was born, then the dad made a transhuman, because all the other children that he's making now today, the dad cannot be saved. They're already hybrids. But me guys, there are people like that walking among us, like it or not. And now no longer is such a conversation on the tongues of people a taboo. There's plenty of sober minds on the internet speaking these very same things. So y'all can be out here calling me for some strange weird conspiracies, or some strange weird conversation coming from a person wearing a tinfoil on their head. It is a conversation being had by very respectable scholars in, never mind the Christian faith, which is across the board. And there's also like a UAP documentary coming out from the US Congress being released. I spoke about that in my last video. You cannot try to speak to me and try to refute me like I'm speaking smack. You will remember that rant, Egg Candace Owens, speaking about how it is that Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, she doesn't know if they're full human or what, because she feels as if though they're like transhumans or whatever. And if at all, like they're hybrids, if at all she were to like stab Elon Musk, not that she would stab him, but if at all she were to stab Elon Musk, she's not sure if blood is going to come out. She feels like a battery's going to pop out. I mean, Candace Owens is a whole credible, albeit loony influencer. You don't get to speak things like those in a world that still thinks that stuff like that is crazy and maintain millions upon millions of people watching your particular podcast. So what I'm trying to get at right now is that the things that I'm speaking on my tongue are not so taboo as to write me off as a lunatic. So all the best in trying. And as for Candace Owens, what they need, the Lord Almighty have her back, protect her, because apparently the French are trying to kill her for proving that Bridget Macron is a dude. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at Candace Owens because I prayed as soon as I saw that video. Not her video, I don't watch her video. I don't watch Candace Owens things. I don't read her tweets. I don't do nothing. She's too grieving. But it came from Benny Johnson. And when I saw this, I was like, yo, Bandla, we oh cheeky. Listen, we don't want you dead in these streets. Like, frankly, I'm rooting for her to get born again. But apparently there's like a whole thread on Candace Owens' life, and it is like confirmed, like validated, like it's a real thread. And Emmanuel Macron is trying to like apparently kill Candace Owens because she proved that his husband, his wife is a dude. Just like that trans athlete that is Woman of the Year. That's Bridget Macron. I'm sorry. Next maybe I was trying to pop me. Candace Owens cannot die. She's not saved yet. But I'm born again. I don't mind getting popped. But anyway, I digress. My life is hard. That's why I don't mind getting popped. I'm sorry. Now I just laughed like Tucker Carlson, something entirely inappropriate to be laughing over, but I'm laughing. But what I'm trying to get at right now, God protect Candace, okay, let's stand in the gap. But what I speak is not that taboo. It isn't taboo. Nendo Talena is a hybrid, and we are and his children, all of them are spawns. Not all of them. Those that he made after a certain time are spawns. There was a time when he was a thoroughbred human. So, like, yeah, however, will regret that this boy, the son that with whom he's gonna die, he regrets embracing the occult. Last night I had a dream, like, you know when you're just falling asleep and then you pop out of like sleep because you're not fully asleep or whatever, of frogs, y'all, the kankane that are like human sized. God euphemized it a little bit by making them more cartoonish in their stature, because if I had seen like human-sized frogs, I would have just been like so disturbed, and I'm already going through a lot, right? I've seen like standing crocodiles in my dreams, so I guess it depends on my climate, my mood. If I'm really broken, the Lord won't let me see something too grotesque, and he didn't let them look grotesque, but I was nonetheless kind of like, I was nauseated, where I saw human-sized, like tall like me, right? Frogs walking on their twos, not hopping. They were not hopping. They were not doing that which frogs do. It was out of character, and they were just walking in some absolutely incredibly, just like, listen, voluminously beautiful city. And I had understanding that it's not on earth. Not that it is either not on earth or it is not of earth, even though it is on earth, in that it's like a portal that you just kind of hop into from the earth. I don't know, but there was just like a city that I understood was either not on earth or of the earth. It certainly cannot be seen by our naked eyes, me and you out here chatting, and then you like, poke and prod away at me. No, there was a city, like a beautiful city, and there were these like frogs walked in there almost like in single file, the way that little children on tour at a museum have to walk in single file, and they have to stay close to their teacher that is out here, or the tour guide showing them like spot to spot in the museum. They were like that, but they were human-sized frogs walking around in awe of this like city, like, yeah. And I had understanding that this here city is not of earth. It is not of the earth. It's not somewhere where you can just take a bus and go, or a flight. God was showing me they go to spiritual places that the devil basically shows them, but when they go there, their DNA has to be altered, there's something in them has to be mixed. They cannot and breathe properly or be normal, so they have to be experimented on. And in my dream, these were frogs, and there's one of them frogs in the Bible represent an unclean spirit. You know how they were spirits, 3 spirits looking like frogs that came out from is it the mouth of the Antichrist or what? Or is it the false prophet? Can't correct it, but frogs ain't anything good in the scriptures, okay? Frogs are nothing good in the scriptures. There's nothing awesome about them in the Bible. They're unclean animals, just like piggies. And so therefore, listen, maybe God used that symbolically, but I have a feeling that, you know how like the one dude he can breathe underwater. The other day he actually transformed into a walrus that came at me, but then a lion like mauled at him, and that represented the Lion of Judah, Jesus, right? Yeah. like weird, random, odd, like just ominous things happen. And I saw people walking in a very beautiful city. I've heard testimonies of people speaking about a city under the sea. I can't validate that. I just saw a very beautiful city. And these people, these froggies that look like human beings, were just in awe now. Just as I was, looking around at this place, they were also in awe. And they were walking in there in single file, like neat little children at a museum. And they were there to be inducted or angasi. And the Lord was showing me that that's just what's happening in South Africa, or in Africa, or in the world, to a whole bunch of people that are being shown weird, absolutely weird things. People are being shown really, really bizarre, weird, absolutely fantastically weird things. And they are allowing themselves to exist in strange places. But I mean, Joe, this world there's nothing boring about the world. It's actually quite fascinating. It's really fantastic. I don't know why you're not content with the earth that God gave you, but I guess if you are already a little witchy rando, if you're already a little witchy curiosity rando, you are going to see mermaid, and you are going to be invited to just kind of hang out in the water with the mermaid without dying, and you are going to go to the Bermuda Triangle and just hover over there and disappear like all those ships and airplanes over there, and then you are going to find yourself in a strange Atlantis kind of city that's just full of like lots of gold, and then you are going to like breathe underwater like a whale, and then you are going to be a frog that's like the size of a human being, walking on twos and not so much hopping on all fours. You are going to be beast trying to marry beauty, because you be out here thinking that bestiality is a thing. You are going to do weird things when you don't believe the truth of the Bible, and you're just really evil, and you've always been nefarious, you've always been curious for all the wrong things, and you've always been discontented by all the gospel that all of your grandmothers taught you. You've always been that boy into pickpocketing everybody's money, and you've always been that girl into sleeping with all the boys on the school playground. You've always been that bully on the school playground that got sick and tired of being rebuked by the school principal, and now you want him to be big enough to even handle the school principal. So therefore, of course, you're going to find yourself in a strange, otherworldly city looking like a frog. I mean, duh. You've always been that thing. So this guy was like, yeah, he was among them. And herein lies his particular rap sheet worth of witchcraft. The Lord showed that was the Lord showing me his initiation the first time that he went to that joint. And remember, I gave him that dream, he was a frog. Now, I told you guys that this guy he's just a sea animal. His dad is a bird, whereas he is a sea animal. And in my dream, I marched in with other initiates looking like frogs. And they were small, by small I mean young frogs, but they were still the size of human beings. These young frogs, they looked young, and God made it very cartoonish, but it was still disturbing. Okay? It looked like a Pixar movie, that's what I'm getting at. In terms of its quality, what I was seeing, it looked like Pixar. So, like, that's why I get it was cartoonish. But, Pixar is kind of almost close to human. It almost looks real. Yeah. Anyway, this guy, did Wafo Stashem, remember the story that I told about listening to hymns? On the way, not hymns, but the gospel being preached, on the way to work, and hymns to work, and how I never got born again, and I couldn't understand why I didn't get born again, even though people were, not hymns, but the gospel was being preached on the bus where I was going to school, not school but work. Yeah, this guy apparently allegedly was able to relate with that video, where it is that na ukumbula a time when he was in a bus in Patkos, going to umsebenzi omkenyayo, and that's why I get it, this guy was born fully salvageable, because his dad only became super wealthy once he compromised and became a bird, and then his dad likely initiated his own son into the occult, and I don't believe that this guy was what do you call this, he was not the woman that he married as a first wife. The Lord showed me in his 40s. He married this woman in his 40s, evidencing therefore that he struggled to get a wife, likely because he was struggling financially. But this guy, and he's now 60 something, so essentially all the children born to the wife in this marriage are in their 20s today, whereas this guy is more closer to age than to me. He's closer to age as me. So something tells me that this dad had this kid with some girlfriend of the past and struggled to make ends meet here and there, mega panda. So this kid was born considering this guy a full human, and so therefore he was essentially entirely salvageable. He was redeemable. But the kid that came to this man after he made a deal with the devil and became a spawn, because kitty hybrids, whereas this guy was born thoroughbred. And the thing about him is that the reason why he became a hybrid was because once I get it, he was older than all his siblings, like by a mad margin, like by a huge margin. His dad could not marry properly because life was rough, and so he only married when he was 40 something, and so therefore likely his son was already I can you get just like me because he could relate with being in a bus going to work. Patko Kenya. So naye megakula nje egasi akibeli Patko, and so if at all he can relate with the Patko, it means that he's from Soweto, because there's no Patko or KZN. That's a Johannesburg Metropolitan Soweto region transportation only. Right? It's you won't find the Patco eKwaZulu. They've got their own transportation over there. So this guy is from Soweto. Uphume Soweto, angazi hwe. Baphume Soweto. He could relate with being in a Patco, also going to some job in Kenya as a young man. Mara, he had a job in Kenya, didn't he now? He had one. Megana, lomsebenzi lona. And ubaba wakhona was still pushing here and there, and the dad likely also had him when he was very, very young, because the dad saw it fit once he started to make imali ebonagalayo, because he signed a deal with the devil. Worship me and I will give you the kingdoms of this world. He then was like, my son, my boy, boss. Do you want to keep on being an administrator in corporate? Do you want to keep on answering phone calls or what? Do you want to keep on pushing paper? Do you want to keep on faxing documents to stakeholders? Or do you want to make real money? And this boy was probably like, yeah, Dad, I want to, because I get that these people are encouraged to recruit everyone that they can into the occult. So he was like, I'll start with my child, because it worked with me. And so his son was initiated, and his son was then taken to the same place where this dad got a mix of DNA, met aliens / fallen angels, whatever, these people that experiment on human bodies, and in this like radiant city as a frog. So essentially something had to be done to him first before he could even go to that city. And he was in it, he was there with a whole bunch of other young guys, other initiates, and all of them were looking around at this place, looking around. So he probably thought, yo, ubaba unconnected. But the dad damned him for life. The dad damned him for life. But it's not like he didn't know that that's what was happening. He heard the gospel when he was growing up. He was, upon being initiated, told to recant Jesus altogether, and he agreed. He was told to absolutely renounce any affiliations with the cross, and he agreed. So it's not like he was led into there blindly as a bat. He knew what he was doing, but he was also lied to, in the sense that the kingdom of darkness was communicated to him as something entirely different, and something that can actually stand on its own, and that there is no hell, no heaven, no whatever, just whatever. And I believe they get taught nihilism, that and then nothing gives. Yeah, okay. So again, and from that day on, he was done for. And they kept mixing him, and like, yeah, he's worse in his mixture than his dad, because he is extremely experimental. So to a point where he becomes different animals, like I've seen him as a walrus, right? I have seen him as a fish going inside the ocean, as an like a mermaid. Like his legs were finned. He had fins on his legs, and he was sitting down on a log, and then he just went into a swimming pool. Not a swimming pool, but a well, like it was in a cave, and he went into a well. Basically just going to a drawing board and trying again and again and again. And then again, he was given a mandate, a very hectic mandate, to make babies. Like as soon as in Jefela, he was in this cult. He was told hambians abantwana, and manje, this guy, like I said, I don't know if he was straight before, but they certainly gave him a passion. They gave him a perversion sexually, likely by making him sleep with all of these other young initiates in the occult. So he has a taste, a fever, and affiliation for the same sex. The dad doesn't have the same issue. The son, however, has been experimented on with same-sex unions, and so he prefers, what do you call this? He prefers men, but he married a woman. And all over these streets, that's why I'm saying but divorce, he got STDs, it's extreme. And this dude, like I said, he's worse than his dad in his mixture, but he's also more innocent than his dad. He, unlike his dad, actually had some kind of a career that he started in in corporate, and he could have just rose and worked hard and gone to school and been fine. Whereas the dad in Jefela was just always struggling from the get-go, to a point where he only married in his 40s. This guy, Onapalama Padko, in his early 20s, ayako a corporate job where he would have just grown and been like any other regular person. And he thought back about that time, because I made him very nostalgic. And he was like, why didn't I listen to the gospel back then? So only conviction of sin. But once you mix yourself and make yourself a hybrid, once you make yourself like a Nephilim, you make yourself unredeemable. And what I'm trying to warn people of right now is, don't join the occult, because mamela, once they convert your DNA, your genes, you can't get saved, but you will still have desires to revert, like after a silk press, back to God, so you can have your tendrils again. But you're gonna have heat damage, and there's no reverting. But for cutting that whole mane off, your glory just goes, and there's no coming back to God. So you will be like the demons, you will be like the fallen angels, unredeemable, however, remembering heaven, and it's going to be a sore point for you to live on earth. You're going to be highly suicidal, you're going to wish you could recover to God, but God is going to, just like with Esau, seeing as you hated your birthright. Timothy Alberino, therein lies his book again. Seeing as you hated your birthright like Esau, you despised it, you will not be, God will deny you repentance. God will deny you repentance. You will beg God, you will beg him. This guy has been groveling, he's been praying, and God has just rejected him time and time again, because he's essentially like a Nephilim, like a fallen angel, but he was given everything to make this informed decision. He was given everything to make this informed decision. He was given absolutely everything he needed in order to make this informed decision, but he didn't make it. He didn't make it in the right way, and so now he is sitting in deep regret, unlike his dad, who feels nothing about Jesus. He's not even convinced altogether when I speak. But the son, Moja, and I'm sorry, like I feel sorry for him every so often, but the way I have compassion for 5 seconds and then I just get over it. I get over it. Because uyang abuser, and he's the Thabo Bester. Remember earlier I spoke about Thabo Bester. Now who is Thabo Bester? It's a good it's 8 minutes past 5 in the morning right now, so I'm starting to feel some kind of tired, but it's alright. Let's just keep pushing. Thabo Bester is this random crazy rapist and murderer, kills 2 women, and I believe he raped them first, went to prison for it, and then Impenjake from long ago, from back in the day, from university, Nandi Pamakutumani, some beautiful chick that finished her degree and got her medical degree, was now, I believe she was a dermatologist or something. That was the particular field of medicine that she was in, and this chick literally broke him out of prison. It's all like, my thing is, Nandipa, why didn't you date Thabo when you were in tertiary? Why didn't the two of you, apparently they worked together doing promotions or whatever, like they were nabafetana. Why back then did this man that you then finally came to realize is the love of your life, why didn't you realize then that he was the love of your life? That's how magic works. You be out there walking up and down, frequenting people into bafeta first stop, well, hey dude, unjani, chest bumping, hugging, maybe once making out, but you never ever became a couple officially. And then one day you've got such strong feelings that you think that he is your Clyde and your Bonnie. And as a woman, how in the world are you breaking a man out of prison as a whole doctor, and this man that you're breaking out of prison murdered and raped women? That's why he's there. It doesn't make any kind of sense, especially considering they had a history together where they didn't date. They chose not to. Nandipa went and married her own husband and had children with 2 kids with him, and then she betrayed that marriage with Thabo Bester when Thabo was in prison. Likely what Thabo did with Nandipa. You know, listen, I can relate with Nandipa and what happened over there. There are guys that you've got very strong feelings for, or you've got a crush on when you're growing up, Mara, because he's so fly. You all know that Thabo Bester is really cute, right? Because he's so cute, he looks at you and you're like one of the chicks, but pretty, that are all up in his grill like white on rice. Just one of them. I can relate. You're one of the chicks that are all up in his grill like white on rice. You're one of the chicks that's spazzing hard for him. You're one of the chicks that likes him really very much, and he flirts with you, but he always thinks he can do better. That chick is so beautiful, so I don't know why any man would think he can do better, but you know, there's a dumb guy out there that thoroughly thinks he can do better than the baddest chick in the game. But yeah, that's what was going on over there. I'm speculating at this point. I'm not saying that it's fact, but based on my own experiences, I have had dudes that I had crushes on, especially the one that I thought was my future husband. I was just among the pretty chicks with whom he was flirting, but he didn't think much of me, and so he walked right by me. But once you're now kind of desperate and you know that there's somebody that can help bail you out of a particular situation, and it's one of the chicks that liked you, that's when then you start to like plot and scheme and do black magic on them. I would imagine that likely what happened with Thabo Bester and Nandipa. Nandipa maybe liked him, but he was all over the show. Nandipa then went on right ahead and married her own husband, had her own children, while Thabo Bester was still out there in these streets doing whatever he wants to do, and she moved on. But Wambiza, Nyemiti, there is a guy, the one that I thought was my husband, Kitwile Moyena at some point, and then Wambiza back Nyemiti. Listen, I can relate to Nandipa's story. The dude that I thought was my future husband, I had massive feelings for him from the time I started working at MTN. I got over him when I came to Christ. And Wangi Buisa got witchcraft, because he saw that I was no longer interested. He saw that I was no longer out here ogling at him. Yes, I had my own boyfriend at the time, but I told you, you know, my story is all interwoven. My ex-boyfriend, and I was ready to leave him for any other guy. So this dude, I liked him. When I started working at MTN, the first time I saw him, I already liked him. But I was just one of the pretty girls with whom he was out here flirting and fraternizing with. And I was just apparently maybe not good enough, not gorgeous enough, not beautiful enough, not yellow-skinned enough, not whatever. But I mean, he could hit that. But seeing as I was one of those, you know, prettish ones that are not just going to go and have sex with a dude and just feel like because he's cute, he wouldn't just one shy first stop. But as soon as I came to Christ, a lot of guys that I was out here, you know, vibing with, because I was now in Christ, I was mature. I didn't see it as witchcraft because that's the thing. I was untrained. I got the dreams. I saw the witchcraft. I saw the sorrow. I saw myself groveling at his feet, and I thought it meant that he was my husband. In my dreams, I was always just chasing after him. Why aren't you this? And I thought that maybe that was the Lord showing me that he's my husband. He just doesn't know it yet. And so I went and I ran with it because I didn't understand my dreams. I finally would get them, and I wish I had understood my dreams earlier, because then I would not have grumbled so much. I would not have loved him as a Christian. I would have indeed, just as I made a decision to move on. But I didn't know my dreams, and so neither did Nandipa understand where her sudden re-energized feelings for a crazy dude from long ago came from. I've had a dream before of Unandipa in prison, in a cell, looking a Kodimu, lady trying to commit suicide. And I was like, yo God, who's giving the gospel? Who's giving her the gospel? What happened over there? And is she open to listen to that message? Is she willing to hearken to somebody telling her, listen, I know what happened over here. You might be in prison, but it's not too late to get born again. No need to be out here killing yourself in jail or whatever. Ali highly suicidal, regretting what she did with Thabo Bester and not understanding why she let herself go out like that. Essentially, when these people are done using you and witchcraft wears off, it dawns on you again, say, that was willing to love me. I left an entire life thriving behind. I left a great future to be with a crazy dude. I have had a man noose me kango. Yes, that's what I'm trying to get at right now. A man that passed me up before, Mara, that now that he is in a knot and a bunch. And that, I believe, is what happened with Unandipa. So, like I said, a dude doesn't like you, or he likes you, but really you're just one among many. And however, he then finds himself in a knot, and Thabo Bester found himself in prison. And by the time he was now in jail, Nandipa was very high profile. She was a doctor, she was accomplished, she was this, she was that. She was the best woman to help him out of all of his litany, his team of ex-girlfriends. Why? Likely because maybe he remembered a time when Unandipa was spazzing over him, but he was not barging, or he was not too sincere, too serious. And moved on. He remembered her feelings, likely, and then after remembering her feelings, remembered how she always did want him to be very serious with her, but he never ever took her too seriously. And also because of how much she was just spazzing over him and willing to do whatever it takes. When this guy then raped 2 women and killed them, like, listen, get over your feelings for a dude once he commits gender-based violence, okay? When you have a crush on a dude, women, and then you find out some chick, mamela, tomorrow it's gonna be you. And then you find out that he was arrested for domestic violence, listen, Galsani, it's gonna be you. Do not ever think that a man is gonna be different towards you when he hurt another woman. But you see, when you're being noosed by imiti, so you're gonna overlook izinto ezi very grave and dire, like murder and rape, because that's exactly what Thabo Bester did. He is the bane of South Africa's existence. He's the type of guy that we lament against. Apparently Thabo Bester was the Facebook rapist. The Facebook rapist, because he would meet these chicks on Facebook and he met them on Facebook and then raped them and then killed them. That's Thabo Bester over there. He did all that. Do you understand? And then you as a doctor, a medical doctor, listen, that's who you are. Do no harm, whatever happened to that. This dude did harm to 2 women. You then get cajoled by him, coddled by him, spoken sweet nothings to by him, the way that you've always wanted. And then top of that, hectic to make you deeply consider, since the 2 of y'all want to be together like Megan Good and 50 Cent and 21 Questions. Would you come and pursue me in prison? I'm 21 questions. I was Megan Good, the 21 questions, but instead of it being Megan Good, it's Nandipa. And she, like the beautiful Megan Good in that music video, 21 questions, 50 cents. It's like, yeah, I'm always gonna be here for you, baby. Come on, I love you. No, I'm not gonna leave you. I love you. What the heck? To a point of prison break? Who do you think you are, Michael Schofield? She broke the guy out. I mean, go and check out the story of Nandipa and Thabo Bester. You will know that the chick went and bought a cadaver, since she's a medical doctor, burned it, bought the 2 other prison guards, helped the man. Essentially started a crime syndicate from prison. He was already making tons of millions from jail. Atuswaki is Clyde. And this Clyde was married at the time when she was doing this for this crazy guy. This crazy guy had so infiltrated this woman and her network that even the dad was actually trying to support Thabo Bester. But that happened for Nandipa. Why nobody tried to rebuke Nandipa for her indiscretions against her husband? Listen, we don't know. Nomfa's Lona that had everything on a silver platter given her by God, however, that was greedy, because the eye of man is never satisfied, like death and Shio. Wayosiza Indota, after agreeing to support him by any means necessary, no matter what, upon answering his 21 questions like he is 50 Cent, she then also broke him out of jail by creating a false, a false suicide by burning. But there was a cadaver burned. Don't nobody know why there were no forensics done. no labs, but at the same time, if at all, he burned in his own cell. Who else could it be other than Thabo Bester? Apparently he died in jail from burning himself to death, or he got burned to death, something. They burned a corpse that they likely got as a Jane Doe from med school. This chick out here procured a corpse, a cadaver.